Okay, so today we're going to be doing Module 1, Lesson 2. The objective, or what you will be able to accomplish by the end of our lesson, is that you will be able to relate multiplication to the array model. The materials that you'll need for today's lesson are your whiteboard, your dry erase marker, and your dry eraser. There is a lot of vocabulary for lesson 2. Since we're learning something new, of course, there's always going to be a lot of new things introduced. So one of the new things is a row, which is the group going side to side. So as you can see here, I have circled one row, and it's that group that goes side to side or across. A column is the group going up and down, and you can see I circled one column. It's the one that goes up and down or from top to bottom. Next is an array. An array are items organized in rows and columns. So you can see a few different arrays here, okay? The key to an array is that it is organized. It has rows and it has columns. So let's take a look. Here is an array. You can see that there's rows and there's columns, and it is perfectly organized into those rows and columns. Here is another array. This array is also organized into rows and columns. Over here is an array. You can see that this array is organized into rows and columns. And even here, you can see another array, which is organized into one row, okay, and two columns, okay? Number of groups is our next vocabulary term. So the number of groups is the amount of equal groups. So you can see here that there is one group circled, two groups circled. So there are two groups. Each group has an equal number in it. This group has 3 trees and this group has 3 trees. The next term is the size of groups. So the size of the groups is the number of items in a group. So we already said we have 2 equal groups. Each of those groups has 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 trees in each group. So the size of the group is 3. Next is to skip count. Skip count is counting by a number other than 1. So you can skip count by 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, hundreds, anything other than the number 1, okay? Because counting by 1s would just be normal counting. So in our example here, where we have the 2 groups of 3, we would skip count by 3s. 3, 6. And so we know that the number of trees altogether is 6. Next is product. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So in our example here, we had 2 groups of 3 trees. And we said that that gave us 6 trees altogether. So let's look down here at our problem. Remember that we said that the X in multiplication stands for groups of. So say that with me. X means groups of. X means groups of. X means groups of. Okay, that's really important to remember because we are going to use that for the rest of the year. Okay, so for this problem, we would say 2 groups of 3 equals 6. And you can see we have a picture that has 2 groups of 3 trees each, and that equals 6 trees total. So all we did was take our sentence, which is 2 groups of 3 equals 6, and made it into a multiplication problem. 2 times 3 equals 6. And 6 is our product because 6 is the answer. Okay, so product is really a fancy word for answer when you're talking about a multiplication problem. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to those whiteboards. On your whiteboard, I want you to answer this question for me. How many groups are circled? There are 1, 2, 3 groups circled. How many in each group? So how many dots are there in each group? Go ahead and write it on your whiteboard and hold it up. One, 2. There are 2 dots in each group. So in this group, 1, 2, and in this group, 1, 2. Okay, we have equal groups, so we know that all of the groups have the same number of dots because they are equal. Write this as an addition sentence. This one might be a little more challenging because we've only had a little bit of practice doing it so far, but go ahead and write an addition sentence. I'll give you a hint. It'll be blank plus blank plus blank equals blank. So it'll be this group of dots plus this group of dots plus this group of dots. And how many dots does that equal all together? Go ahead and get that on your whiteboard, the whole addition sentence. Okay, so here we have 2 dots, plus this one has 2 dots, plus this circle has 2 dots. And we have to figure out what that equals. So down here, our equation is 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals, well, I am going to practice one of our vocabulary terms, which is skip counting. I'm going to skip count. 2, 4, 6. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. And that is our addition sentence. Now let's write a multiplication sentence for 3 2's equals 6. So I'm going to write the addition sentence that we had before back up here. 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So you can see here it says 3 2's equals 6. Well, if you count, we have 1, 2, 3 2's, okay? So that makes sense that this says 3 2's equals 6. So how do we write that as a multiplication sentence? Go ahead, if you have an idea, go ahead and make that guess on your whiteboard. What would a multiplication sentence look like for 3 2's equals 6? Okay, let's think about this another way. We have 1, 2, 3 groups. Remember, the X stands for groups of. So we have 3 groups of 2, because there's 2 dots in each group. And we already skip counted, and we said that equals 2, 4, 6. 3 times 2 equals 6. Or the way we like to say it is 3 groups of 2 equals 6. And if you look at our example up here, 3 2s equals 6. 3 2s equals 6. Okay, 3 2s equals 6. So there's a few different ways of saying it, but really it all means the same thing. Okay, and that gets us to our 3 groups of 2. Okay, here is another one. On your whiteboard, go ahead and answer this question. How many groups are circled? So how many groups do we have? Write that on your whiteboard. Make sure you hold it up to the camera so we can see it. There are 1, 2, 3 groups. How many are there in each group? Okay, so looking at how many dots are in each group. And if we have equal groups, we only need to count one of the groups because we know all the groups will have the same amount of dots. So go ahead. How many are there in each group? So how many in just one group? Not all together, in just one group, how many are there? Go ahead and write that on your whiteboard. Let's count. 1, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 dots in each group. If you wanted to check your work, you could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 in each group. Write this as an addition sentence. Go ahead on your whiteboard and write this as an addition sentence, not multiplication, addition. So remember, it should be a repeated addition sentence where you add the same number over and over again to get the answer. Here's a hint. Blank plus blank plus blank equals blank. Kind of gave you the answer there, unintentionally. So how many in this group, plus how many in this group, plus how many in this group? Five dots in this group, plus 5 dots in this group, plus 5 dots in this group. And I kind of accidentally gave you the answer already, but let's skip count that to find out how many dots altogether. And since there's 5 in a group, we're going to skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. Write a multiplication sentence representing 3 5s equals 15. Go ahead on your whiteboard. What would a multiplication sentence look like for this? So we're looking for blank blank groups of blank equals blank. Okay, let's go ahead and fill this in. We have 1, 2, 3 groups, which we already put up here. So 3 groups of 5, because there's 5 dots in each group, which we set up here, equals 15, because we skip counted to find that. 3 groups of 5 equals 15. Okay? Now, some of you might have put 5 times 3 equals 15. 5 times 3 does equal 15, but this is not correct for our picture because we do not have 5 groups of 3. We have 3 groups of 5. So you have to make sure that you're putting it in the correct order, which is why it's so important to say the X as groups of. 3 groups of 5 equals 15. Because if you were to say 5 groups of 3, you'd be like, no, there's not 5 groups. That's not right. Okay? So it's really important that you say that that X is groups of. Okay? The X is what? Groups of. Okay? I think that might be it for today. That is it for today. So now what you will need to do is complete your CAMI assignment, which will be Module 1, Lesson 2 homework. You'll complete the whole page, which is numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you have finished putting in all of your answers, make sure you click that Turn In button. That shows me you're done so that I can grade it and return it back to you. And that will be all for today.